I am a witch doctor. I married Zhu Jingran while concealing my identity, wholeheartedly wanting to live a life with him. To earn money for his treatment, I secretly practiced medicine in the black market behind his back. Little did I expect that today's client would be my husband. My wife is pregnant. Doctor, please prescribe the best medicine for stabilizing the pregnancy. But I am not pregnant. Moreover, the poison in his body has not been neutralized. So he is completely incapable of fathering a child. Whom is this medicine prescribed for? Doctor, I need the best medicine for stabilizing pregnancy. My wife is pregnant. This is our first child. I am overjoyed. My wife is still young and doesn't know what to pay attention to during pregnancy. She has a frail constitution and always has cold hands and feet in the winter. Should she be properly nourished? I almost doubted that I had mistaken the person. The man before me was dressed in a blue robe, with a slender figure and an ethereal demeanor. Beneath the white veil, a sharply defined chin was faintly visible, the skin as cool and pale as jade. That voice, that figure, it was unmistakably my husband, Zhu Jingran. This morning, he noticed I was on my period and thoughtfully brewed a pot of brown sugar ginger tea for me. The spicy taste of the ginger tea still lingered on my lips, and now he claims his wife is pregnant. No. I must have mistaken him for someone else. I never imagined there could be two people in this world who look so alike. I stared at him in a daze, and the man waved his hand in front of my eyes. Doctor, he took out a moon-white pouch from his pocket and placed it on the table. The pair of ugly mandarin ducks embroidered on the pouch deeply stung my eyes. This was the pouch I had embroidered. It was the birthday gift I had given to Zhu Jingran, after finishing the embroidery. I was afraid he would laugh at me, so I hesitated to show it to him. Zhu Jingran did indeed laugh at me. He pinched my nose affectionately, smiled, and pulled me into his arms. Our Aang is as beautiful as a fairy and capable in every way. I always suspect you're a celestial being who descended to the mortal world, or perhaps a bewitching enchantress. Now that I see these two wild ducks, I feel at ease. I no longer have to worry about you turning into a wisp of smoke and drifting away. After all, fairies and female demons probably wouldn't embroider mandarin ducks as ducks. I clenched the pouch tightly, the veins on the back of my hand bulging. Zhu Jingran was startled by my almost rough action, feeling somewhat uneasy. Doctor, is the silver too little? He hesitated for a moment, then steeled himself and untied a dragon and phoenix jade pendant from his waist. This jade pendant is still worth about 10 taels of silver. This jade pendant is the token of love I gave him. I opened the pouch and stared blankly at the 2 gleaming silver ingots inside, a total of 10 taels of silver. Together with the jade pendant, it could almost be considered our entire family fortune. Zhu Jingran was someone I found while gathering herbs in the mountains. He was an unlucky fellow. On his way to the prefectural city for the imperial examination, he was accidentally bitten by a venomous snake. He staggered a few steps before carelessly stepping into a deep pit dug by hunters. That pit had long been abandoned, and inside, a nest of venomous centipedes had taken up residence. To cure the poison in his body, I exerted every ounce of my skill. All the silver I earned was spent on buying medicine for him. After his illness gradually improved, Zhu Jingran was immensely grateful to me. After learning that I was an orphan, he sent a matchmaker to propose marriage, wanting to take me as his wife. I did not mind his family's poverty. And he did not mind my ordinary appearance or the fact that I had no parents. However, I dared not tell him about my identity as a witch doctor. This dynasty strictly forbids the practice of medicine among the common people. All medical clinics are established by the imperial court, and the physicians are all government officials. There, even the most common cold medicine costs 5 taels of silver per packet. When commoners fall ill, they must spend their entire fortune just to save their lives. Only in the black market can one find folk physicians with some medical skills. The imperial court refers to us as witch doctors. I carefully treated Zhu Jingran's illness, going to great lengths to prepare the medicine as medicinal cuisine, simmering it into soups to nourish his body. Many of the herbs had to be purchased on the black market. Over the years, the silver I earned from practicing medicine on the black market was almost entirely spent on this. In daily life, I would pinch every penny until it screamed. just to barely save a bit of silver. Half of the silver went to Zhu Jingran's education. The other half was used to buy this jade pendant for him. I put away the jade pendant and the pouch, burying all my emotions deep within my eyes. Let's go. I'll go take a look at your esteemed wife. Zhu Jingran was overjoyed, bowing to me 3 times with a bent waist. Thank you, doctor. In the black market, house calls are exorbitantly expensive, costing at least 20 taels of silver. However expensive it may be, it is still much cheaper than the medical clinics run by the court. I followed quietly behind Zhu Jingran, wearing a veil, having worked as a witch doctor for many years. The art of disguise and changing one's appearance is the simplest thing for me. Accent, height, physique, and facial features can all be altered at will, so Zhu Jingran absolutely could not recognize me. Doctor, we're here, this is the place. This was a very quiet and secluded small courtyard. Although the courtyard was not large, it was exceptionally well maintained and clean. In the southwest corner, a pomegranate tree was planted, and on its trunk, a swing was tied. Hearing the sound of the door opening, someone hurriedly walked out. My child, did you buy the miscarriage prevention medicine? Oh, this is my mother-in-law. 3 days ago, she said her sister, who was married off to the neighboring county, was seriously ill, and she had to see her one last time. For this, she even took 3 taels of silver from me. Mother, this is Dr. Wu from the ghost market. She is the best doctor in the ghost market. My mother-in-law was filled with deep respect. She wiped her hands a few times on her chest and greeted me with an eager smile. Oh my, I said I heard magpies chirping in the tree this morning. I never expected it was Dr. Wu herself coming to visit. Dr. Wu, please come in. Come in, I'll make you some tea. Has Dr. Wu had dinner yet? It's so dark outside, and yet we've troubled Dr. Wu to make the trip. It's really, I had never seen a mother-in-law so attentive and polite. In the 3 years I've been married to Zhu Jingran, she has never once smiled at me. Every day, she wears a stern face and looks down on me with her nose in the air. No matter what I do, she is never satisfied. She complains that my cooking is not tasty, that the floor I sweep is not clean, and that I cannot bear children. She doesn't know that it is Zhu Jingran who cannot have children. He has been poisoned and his body is weakened. Only by restoring his health can he have offspring. Doctor, my daughter-in-law has been unable to eat these past few days. She vomits whatever she eats and has visibly lost a lot of weight. Moreover, she has a craving for sour foods. They say sour cravings mean a boy, and spicy cravings mean a girl. So this pregnancy is sure to be a big, healthy boy. Since she can't eat, I'm really worried my precious grandson will go hungry. Doctor, please take a look at her quickly. The door curtain was lifted, revealing a young woman with a lovely face lying on the bed, who looked somewhat familiar. The woman propped herself up and gave Zhu Jingran a coquettish glare. I already said I'm fine. Why did you still call the doctor to come all the way here? How much silver will this cost? Zhu Jingran stepped forward and embraced her, his eyes filled with heartache. Man Niang, take it easy, you've lost so much weight these past few days. I'm truly worried. What a loving couple. I stood there in a daze, feeling as if a huge hole had been torn in my chest. A cold wind howled through it, chilling me to the bone, as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. I recognized this woman. She's the daughter of the town's butcher, Liu, who ran away from home because she was unhappy with the marriage her father had arranged for her. Butcher Liu searched almost the entire town for her, even closing his pork stall. A few days ago, Mrs. Liu came to me to buy medicine. She said Butcher Liu was so heartbroken that he couldn't sleep night after night, and the worry made him ill. I never expected she would hide here, and even became Zhu Jingran's wife. Wife, if she is Zhu Jingran's wife. Then what am I? What am I? Dr. Wu, urged by Zhu Jingran. I walked to the bedside like a zombie and reached out to take her pulse, a pregnancy pulse. She has been pregnant for 3 months. My wife is quite careless. She didn't even realize she was 2 months pregnant. A few days ago, she was vomiting everything she ate, and only then did she realize she was pregnant. During this time, she also got caught in the rain and ate hawthorn candy. I've heard that pregnant women shouldn't eat hawthorn candy. Doctor, please take a look at her quickly. A numbed mind gradually regained a bit of clarity. Zhu Jingran's poison had not been neutralized, so the child in Liu Manyang's womb could not possibly be his. Interesting, truly fascinating. Zhu Jingran kept a mistress behind my back. Liu Manyang was secretly pregnant with Zhu Jingran's child. For a moment, I didn't even know whether I should cry or laugh. I stiffened my body. Discreetly surveying the room, the quilt that Liu Manyang is covered with was bought by me at a high price from a tailor shop. The carved elm wardrobe standing by the window was made by the best carpenter in town, commissioned by me. Even the silver bracelet on Liu Manyang's wrist is mine. Zhu Jingran, like an ant moving its home, has moved all the slightly valuable items from our house here. I had thought a thief had broken into my house. So I specifically repaired the wall and reinforced the main door. So that's how it is. No matter how well you guard against outsiders, it's hard to guard against a thief within the family. I frowned tightly, not saying a word. Liu Manyang was frightened by my expression, her gentle voice trembling slightly. Dr. Wu, please don't scare me. Is there something wrong with the child? The child is very healthy. It's my fault, really my fault. I raised my eyes and looked at her seriously. This child, I'm afraid, may not be able to be saved. The few people in the room immediately panicked. Liu Manyang screamed and threw herself into Zhu Jingran's arms. Zhu Jingran held her close, comforting her softly, and then pleaded with me repeatedly. Dr. Wu, I beg you, please save this child. No matter how much it costs, I must protect him. My mother-in-law plopped down on the ground, slapping her thighs and wailing, heavens above, this is the only golden grandson of our Zhu family. That damned heaven has no eyes. We brought home a hen that can't lay eggs. I said from the start not to marry that jinx, that cursed loner who brings misfortune to her parents. It must be her who brought misfortune to my precious grandson. Truly, what a heavy accusation to place upon my head. I withdrew my hand and cast a cool glance at Zhu Jingran. Do not panic, your wife's illness is not without a remedy. It's just that this medicine is really quite expensive, and moreover, every 7 days, I need to come to your home for acupuncture. The consultation fee. Zhu Jingran suddenly stood up, patting his chest as he assured me, Dr. Wu, please proceed with the treatment without any hesitation. Money is not an issue. What a big talker. He has always been weak and sickly, unable to even attend the academy, and can only earn a little money by copying books. As for the mother-in-law, although she is physically strong, she only grows some vegetables and raises a few chickens and ducks. The money they earn is barely enough to make ends meet. If it weren't for me gathering herbs in the mountains every day and secretly practicing medicine in the black market, Zhu Jingran wouldn't even have money for medicine. I wish I could cut out my own heart and give it to him. For him, I wake up early and stay out late to gather herbs in the mountains. For him, I endure the bad temper of my mother-in-law in silence. But he treated me like this, fine, just perfect. I prepared the medicine and carefully performed acupuncture on Liu Manyang. No matter whose child she is carrying, I will ensure she gives birth safely. Haha, who says I'm not a compassionate healer? After the acupuncture, Liu Manyang's complexion improved significantly. She stood up, holding her stomach, and spoke shyly to Zhu Jingran. Husband, I'm a bit hungry. The mother-in-law smiled so broadly that her eyes disappeared. And she scurried off to bring her a bowl of steaming chicken soup. I looked at that bowl of golden chicken soup, and a surge of hatred welled up in my heart. This old hag was in charge of the kitchen at home, and for a whole month, she couldn't bear to give me even a bite of meat. Every time, she would take advantage of me going up the mountain to gather herbs, secretly cooking special meals at home with Zhu Jingran. She thought I didn't know, but in reality, I just couldn't be bothered to argue with her. Zhu Jingran and the old woman thanked me profusely as they saw me out the door. I walked alone in the pitch-black night, never having felt so lonely before. My father was an official physician, unable to bear seeing the poor unable to afford treatment. I secretly treated people behind the medical office's back. As a result, the matter was accidentally exposed, and both my parents were sentenced to exile, dying on the journey. After saving Zhu Jingran, I thought I finally had a family again, no longer alone. Little did I expect that reality would give me a harsh slap in the face. I was wrong. I shouldn't have pinned my happiness on a man. After returning home, I sat in the yard all night, feeling desolate. Every little detail of this home is filled with memories. That peach tree was planted by my own hands. To enjoy its blossoms in spring and eat its fruit in summer, the peaches we couldn't finish could be made into dried peaches, peach blossom wine, and peach jam. On the grape trellis in the corner of the yard, emerald vines twined and grew under the night sky. This is my home, but I will soon lose it. No, it was Zhu Jingran and that Zhu Shusha who made the mistake, not me. If they die, then this home will still be mine. As the first light of dawn broke in the east, I finally rose from the stone bench. The day had dawned. Zhu Jingran didn't return home until noon. As soon as he pushed the door open, he rubbed his shoulders, looking weary and listless. "My dear, I'm so tired. I spent the whole night copying books yesterday. Without even closing my eyes, my back aches, my shoulders hurt, and my eyes are sore from all the writing." This was Zhu Jingran's usual trick. In the past, whenever he did this, I would feel deeply distressed. Then I would hurry to kill a chicken and stew meat for him, and also give him massages and rub his shoulders. Sometimes, when I earned money from selling herbs, I would even take the initiative to give him the silver, telling him to rest well for a few days and not rush to copy books. Zhu Jingran said he was copying books in the town. It takes half a day to walk from the town to my home and back. To save time and copy more books, he often stayed overnight at the bookstore. Looking back now, all of this was a lie. I thought he was working hard for the family. But in reality, he was indulging in a life of comfort every day. "Darling, darling." Seeing that I didn't come out to greet him right away, Zhu Jingran called out twice more. I applied powder to my eyes and lips to make myself look seriously ill. Only when Zhu Jingran entered the room did I weakly lean half my body out of bed. "Cough, cough, husband, cough, you're back." Zhu Jingran was greatly startled, and in 2 or 3 quick steps, he came forward to support me. "Wife, what's wrong with you?" I forced a weak smile at him. "It's nothing. I got caught in the rain while gathering herbs on the mountain yesterday and developed a high fever last night. But I'm much better this morning. Don't worry." Zhu Jingran lowered his head in guilt. "Darling, you've given so much for this family. Quick, lie down. I'll go make some ginger soup for you. You haven't eaten yet, have you? I'll cook. You rest well." Watching Zhu Jingran hurry away, I was momentarily stunned. His concern and guilt are not feigned, but what does any of this amount to? Slap me, then offer a piece of candy. If he truly loved me, how could he have betrayed me? Liars must swallow 1,000 needles. I lay down and closed my eyes, my heart as cold as a knife. Zhu Jingran cooked a pot of millet porridge and stir-fried a plate of eggs with scallions. At home, the eggs were always for him alone to eat. I looked at his eager eyes, my heart filled with a series of cold laughs. "Darling, eat quickly." After I finished the rice porridge, Zhu Jingran finally spoke hesitantly. "Darling, I accidentally spilled ink on the book while copying it yesterday. That's a rare ancient book. The bookstore owner wants me to pay for it." "Oh, so this is where you were waiting for me." I took out a handkerchief and slowly wiped my mouth. "How much do I need to pay?" 10 taels of silver. Exactly the amount I asked Zhu Jingran for to cover the miscarriage prevention expenses. I furrowed my brow, pretending to look troubled. "What should we do now? There's not a single coin left in the house." After saying this, she looked at Zhu Jingran in surprise. "Husband, why is the jade pendant on you missing?" Zhu Jingran was taken aback for a moment, then shamefully grasped my hand. "My lady, I truly am sorry. The jade pendant, I accidentally lost it. Do you really have no money left in your hands? If I don't pay the compensation, I might lose my job of copying books. What should I do?" I let out a cry of pain and covered my head. "Husband, my head hurts." Zhu Jingran was truly panicked this time. He lifted me onto the bed, his fair, handsome face glistening with fine beads of sweat. "Husband, I feel so unwell. Could you please call a doctor for me?" Zhu Jingran closed his eyes in agony. It's my fault for being useless. We don't even have the money to hire a doctor, making you suffer. Close your eyes and sleep for a while, and you'll feel better." Suddenly, I felt utterly disheartened. That's right, what am I still testing? The answer was revealed the moment I saw Liu Manyang. Zhu Jingran left me at home, saying he was going out to borrow money, and then disappeared. It goes without saying that he went to find Liu Manyang. After he left, I slowly sat up. That day when I took Liu Manyang's pulse, I noticed her qi and blood were unstable, and she had frequent sexual activity. Moreover, on her bed, there was a faint scent of woad. Woad is commonly used as a dye in textile weaving. I've always heard that the young master of Chen's cloth shop is dashing and romantic, and the most passionate of all. It seems he is likely the adulterer. I need to think of a way to make them meet. I packed my things and was just about to go out to gather herbs when I unexpectedly ran into Zhu Jingran, who had turned back. He pushed the door open dejectedly, and upon seeing me with the herb-gathering basket on my back, he was startled. Then overjoyed, "Aying, you're better, that's wonderful. Are you going to gather herbs? You mentioned before that something like dendrobium is very valuable, so go gather more of that. Dendrobium often grows on steep cliffs. Picking it is extremely dangerous. A single misstep can lead to a fatal fall with no remains left." I kept a straight face and gave him a cold glance. "I'm not feeling well, and my family can't afford to hire a doctor. I can only go dig up some herbs to drive away the cold and relieve the pain myself." Zhu Jingran felt a bit awkward, and after a moment, he tentatively grabbed my hand again, his tone carrying a hint of pleading. "Then, after you gather the herbs, could you also take a look at the dendrobium on the way? The money for the bookstore really can't be delayed any longer." I certainly wouldn't go gather dendrobium for him. Zhu Jingran had no choice but to gather all the valuable items in the house. However, during this time, all the good things in the house had already ended up with Liu Manyang. What remained were merely daily necessities, and there was truly no way to scrape together much money. I then gave him some advice. "We still have 5 acres of prime paddy fields at home." Zhu Jingran was very hesitant. "How can we sell the land unless it's absolutely necessary?" I spread my hands. "There's no other way. The family truly has no money. Because I've been pretending to be sick and haven't been gathering herbs much, even when I occasionally find some, they're always the least valuable kind. The family hasn't bought any meat for several days. Of course, I was just pretending." As soon as Zhu Jingran left, I closed the door and started eating and drinking heartily. Due to the family's poverty, Zhu Jingran became increasingly unwilling to return home. The old hag sent a message through someone, saying she needed to take care of her sick sister and planned to stay for a long time. These two are planning to live a good life and enjoy their blessings together with Liu Manyang. But they don't stop to think, without me providing the money. Where would this good life come from? I started frequently asking Liu Manyang for money. Each house call costs 5 taels in consultation fees. As long as I don't administer the acupuncture, Liu Manyang can't eat or sleep. Just 1 month later, everything she had in her hands was back in mine. In the 2nd month, Zhu Jingran sold the farmland. 5 acres of paddy fields were sold for 80 taels of silver. The old hag nearly had a stroke when she found out he had sold the land. Fortunately, I worked my magic and brought her back with a few acupuncture needles. Little did she know, the medicine I prescribed was extremely potent. Though she appears to be better now, the illness has only been forcibly suppressed. With just a little stimulation, illness can strike like a mountain collapsing. For these few life-threatening prescriptions, I charged her 20 taels of silver. Because I remained silent every time I came to treat her, Liu Manyang grew less and less guarded around me. On this day, while brewing the medicine, she and Zhu Jingran were openly affectionate with each other, chatting as if no one else was around. "Husband, I don't want you to go, can't you stay tonight?" Zhu Jingran held her hand, gently coaxing her. "Do you think I want to go home and face that old hag? The money really doesn't last long. I need to go home and ask her for some silver." Liu Manyang pretended to urge him to stay, but in truth, she was eager for Zhu Jingran to leave. Because today was the day she was meeting her lover, Liu Manyang was quite a character herself. As long as Zhu Jingran is not at home, she would tie a piece of red silk on the willow tree outside the door. Upon seeing the red silk, the adulterer would arrive promptly at 7:15 in the evening. However, now that she is pregnant, Zhu's mother staying here to take care of her has actually caused her a lot of inconvenience. Therefore, she secretly bought knockout drops from me. 1 dose of medicine, guaranteed to make Madame Zhu sleep until the sun is high in the sky. When buying the medicine, Liu Manyang was completely open and honest. The old lady next door suffers from insomnia and asked me to buy some sleep-inducing medicine for her. The stronger the effect, the better. Who takes knockout drugs for insomnia? I gave her a knowing, faint smile. 5 taels of silver per packet, and 1 packet can be used 7 times. Zhu Jingran returned home and, as expected, asked me for the silver. I still didn't give it to him. Counting the time, it had been 2 months since I last gave him any silver. He seemed like a different person, no longer as gentle and soft-spoken as before. Li Ying, how can you be so thoughtless? I've been working so hard copying books outside, all for the sake of this family. But what have you been doing? I blinked my eyes, looking utterly innocent. Husband, I work every day. Zhu Jingran flicked his sleeve, clasped his hands behind his back, and paced around the room angrily. If you work every day, then where is the money? Before, you used to bring home at least a few taels, sometimes even 10 taels each month. But now you haven't brought back a single penny. I feel even more wronged. Ever since I fell ill last time, my health hasn't been very good. Lately, I don't know what's going on, but my luck has been terrible, and I can never find any valuable herbs. Zhu Jingran, though shameless and despicable, was naturally blessed with a good temper. Even when angry, the manner is like that of a child, shouting at the top of his voice. He doesn't throw things, let alone hit anyone. After a bout of helpless rage, he slumped down dejectedly. Can't you think of a way? This time I'm going to take the imperial examination, so I need to find a scholar to vouch for me. The guarantee fee is only 50 taels of silver. Once I pass with flying colors, we'll finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could hardly keep from laughing. Zhu Jingran really treats me like a fool. He has no intention of focusing on his studies, let alone taking the imperial exams, and hiring a scholar as a guarantor only costs 3 taels of silver. With just one word from him, the price skyrocketed more than tenfold. It's a shame not to become a cunning merchant. I patiently served a cup of hot tea and offered Zhu Jingran some advice. The family truly doesn't have a single tael of silver to spare. Only this house is worth 100 taels of silver. Since you are so confident about the imperial examination, why not mortgage the house? This time, Zhu Jingran firmly refused. Absolutely not. This house is the ancestral property of the Zhu family. If we lose the land, we can still copy books for a living. But if we lose the house, where will our family live? I'll think of another way to handle the money. I truly couldn't imagine what other options he might have. I decided to push him a little. So, the next day, when Liu Manyang got out of bed, she noticed a trace of blood beneath her. After Zhu Jingran found me in the black market, he practically dragged me all the way to his house at a run. Doctor, something terrible has happened. Doctor, while I was taking her pulse, Liu Manyang was extremely guilty. Yesterday was the day she secretly met her lover. I glanced at her indifferently. Madam, you must take care of your health. At night, don't be too greedy for coolness. Last night, you didn't cover yourself with a blanket and drank cold water, didn't you? Liu Manyang heaved a deep sigh of relief and gratefully offered 10 taels of silver. However, this was not enough. Frowning, I wrote out a prescription. Madam's body is still too weak. To ensure a safe delivery, a different type of fetal protecting medicine is needed. In this medicine, 3 chen of ginseng must be added. I wonder if the Zhu family has any high-quality wild ginseng. The Zhu family has nothing. I easily exchanged a few packets of medicine for the last 20 taels of silver left in the Zhu family. Zhu Jingran was truly anxious now. Liu Manyang's eyes darted around, and a plan came to her mind. Have you ever heard of wife pawning? My husband. Wife pawning is when a poor family rents out their wife to a wealthy family to bear and raise children for them. When the family has money, then we can redeem the wife. Zhu Jingran frowned. Li Ying is a hen that doesn't lay eggs. She's been married to me for 3 years and hasn't shown any signs of pregnancy. People who pawn their wives always want to pawn those who are fertile. Liu Manyang covered her mouth with a handkerchief and giggled. Oh, my dear husband, you're just too honest. If you don't say it, who knows if she can give birth? Although Li Ying is plain in appearance, she has the advantage of being young and healthy. Zhu Jingran was somewhat conflicted. But with her looks, she wouldn't fetch much if we pawned her off. Would she? Liu Manyang lowered her voice and whispered in his ear, "Husband, have you heard of Master Chen?" Ju was actually taken aback. But is it that Master Chen from Chen's cloth shop? Master Chen's name was known to everyone in the city, young and old, men and women alike. He had a notorious reputation for being extremely lustful. Moreover, he does not favor courtesans from brothels but is particularly fond of pawning wives, doing so at least 20 or 30 times a year. When those women returned home, they were beaten until there was not a single patch of unbruised skin on their bodies. What's more, some fell ill and died not long after returning home. But Master Chen is wealthy, he was extremely generous with his money, so no one came to cause trouble. After all, the lives of the poor were truly worthless. The woman's husband's family took the money, and with it, they could simply turn around and spend it on a new wife. Without a second thought, Liu Manyang extended one palm. Master Chen's wife pawning comes in 2 types. One is for 2 years, but the woman's life must be spared. For this type, 10 taels of silver are given per year. There's also another type, a direct buyout, where life or death is disregarded. One like this costs 50 taels of silver. Even buying a virgin from a brothel doesn't require that much money. What a way to say life or death doesn't matter. Everyone in town knows that a wife sold under a death contract never survives more than 3 months in his hands. They are trying to kill me. I clenched my fists tightly. Waiting until a burnt aroma wafted from the medicine furnace before turning to leave, it seems I need to speed up the plan. Liu Manyang didn't know that Chen Yuanwei's only son, Chen Wenbin, often came to the black market to buy medicine. He is lustful and indulges in debauchery without restraint. In his early 20s, he has already been physically drained by alcohol and lust, so he often comes to me to buy some aphrodisiacs and potency enhancers. I plan to add something to his medicine. At that time, a big drama is bound to unfold in Liu Manyang's courtyard. Ju Jingran returned home early the next morning. He took my hand and said he wanted to take me for a stroll in the town. "Wife, you work hard to manage this household, but I rarely take you out for fun. The town's restaurant has a new storyteller. I'll take you there for a meal. These past few years, you've truly worked hard." His handsome face, under the sunlight, actually revealed a hint of ferocity. In a daze, I felt that the man standing before me was not the husband I had shared a bed with for 3 years, but a man-eating demon. He said he was taking me to a restaurant for a meal, but in reality, he just wanted to take me to meet Mr. Chen. I looked up at Ju Jingran with a steady gaze. After a long while, I finally nodded in agreement. "Okay, husband, you're being so generous today, I hope you won't regret it later." Ju Jingran smiled and pulled me along. Absolutely no regrets. After saying that, he urged me to go back inside to freshen up and get dressed. He even rummaged through the cabinets and found the most beautiful outfit. I gazed at the pink ruchuan before me, my heart as still as an ancient well. This dress was what I wore when I first met Ju Jingran, because it held such significant meaning. I couldn't bear to wear it on ordinary days and had always kept it carefully stored away. When I finished changing into the dress, Ju Jingran was momentarily stunned. "Husband, does it look good?" He nodded, a look of heartache appearing on his face. "Darling, perhaps we should go another day." I was somewhat taken aback. "Not going." Ju Jingran closed his eyes in agony, and when he opened them again, his gaze had turned icy cold. "I was just joking. Let's go. If we don't go, wouldn't it be a waste of all this effort you put into dressing up?" Ju Jingran's so-called treat of a big meal was just ordering a pot of iced tea, a plate of sunflower seeds, and a plate of broad beans. He didn't even bother to order a single hot dish. While drinking tea, I could feel a sticky, lecherous gaze lingering on me. Following that gaze, I spotted a short, stout old man standing on the second floor. That old man must be Squire Chen. "Darling, have some more." Ju Jingran pushed the stir-fried broad beans toward me, offering an ingratiating smile. The spiced broad beans at this restaurant are quite famous. I grabbed a handful of beans and took a couple of bites. Tastes good. Ju Jingran was restless, his eyes constantly glancing upstairs. The person upstairs gestured to him from afar, and Ju Jingran instantly brightened up. He stood up and called out to the waiter, 2 bowls of lamb noodles, extra meat. After finishing, he wiped his mouth contentedly. Darling, your husband treats you well, doesn't he? I nodded perfunctorily. Good, that's great. After the meal, Zhu Jingran showed a rare touch of warmth. He took me around the town and even went to the temple fair. It wasn't until it was nearly dark that he reluctantly took me home. After arriving home, instead of collapsing into bed as usual, he wrapped his arms around my waist, lowered his head, and tried to kiss me. I turned my face away to avoid him, leaving Zhu Jingran utterly confused. My dear, it's been a long time since we've been intimate. Fuck your mother. I pushed him away with a cold expression. I'm on my period. Zhu Jingran was extremely disappointed, but there was nothing he could do. After complaining a few times, he turned his back to me and lay down on the bed. The next day, as soon as the sky began to lighten, he couldn't wait to go see Liu Manyang. Little did he know that a grand drama awaited him. Last night, while he was asleep, I went to the Liu family and administered a strong dose of medicine. As soon as Zhu Jingran stepped out the door, I followed right behind him. At this moment, Liu Manyang was lying naked, entwined with the young master of the Chen family. The two had been tangled in passion all night, exhausting themselves until dawn before finally falling asleep. So deeply that even thunder could not wake them. Zhu Jingran, witnessing this scene, was filled with rage, his eyes wide with fury. I'll beat you to death, you lecherous scoundrel. In his shock and fury, he struck out without even seeing the other person's face. Chen Wenbin, known locally as a notorious playboy, was used to being the one who hit others, never the one who got hit. Being slapped awake from his sleep, he immediately flew into a rage. You little bastard. How dare you lay a hand on me? The two of them were locked in a fierce struggle, and the commotion quickly woke up Mrs. Zhu and Liu Manyang. This also included the neighbors, as well as the Chen family servant who was keeping watch at the door. Seeing that the situation was turning against them, the Chen family servant immediately ran back home to call for reinforcements. Zhu Jingran had always been physically weak, and facing Chen Wenbin, whose body had been drained by indulgence in wine and women, it was truly a case of evenly matched opponents. The two fought fiercely, turning the world dark. Mrs. Zhu was a fierce woman. Seeing her son being beaten, she immediately ran to the kitchen and grabbed a kitchen knife. Son, kill this flower thief. Chen Wenbin prided himself on being a romantic. Seeing a row of heads peeking over the courtyard wall, how could he bear the title of flower thief? Pa. I and Manyang are truly in love. What the hell are you talking about? Clearly, it's your son who's no good, secretly keeping a mistress. To tell you the truth, the child in Manyang's belly is of my Chen family's bloodline. Zhu Jingran could bear it no longer and grabbed a kitchen knife, lunging at Chen Wenbin. Pervert, die. Chen Wenbin had been fighting all night, and his stamina was indeed somewhat weaker. Zhu Jingran slashed his arm with a single stroke, causing blood to gush out like a spring. Yesterday, I fed them all something good. This drug is colorless and odorless, yet it can make people lose their minds, leaving them in a state of extreme excitement. The sight of blood only fueled Chen Wenbin's ferocity. He casually grabbed the machete placed in the corner of the yard and swung it at Zhu Jingran. Why was there a machete in the corner of the yard? Naturally, I had placed it there. Not only were there machetes, but also sickles, hoes, and axes scattered all over the yard, as if they were afraid today's fight wouldn't be exciting enough. The onlookers were terrified by their ferocity, and for a moment, no one dared to step in to break up the fight. Liu Manyang clutched her stomach, screaming repeatedly, now shouting for her husband to be careful, now yelling for Chen Lang to watch out. It left me a bit confused, not knowing who she actually preferred. Sleeping with your woman is an honor for you. You lowly commoner dare to hurt me. Wait until my father comes. I'll send your whole family to hell. I'll chop you into 108 pieces and feed your flesh to the dogs. Zhu Jingran was so furious that he brandished a kitchen knife with fierce momentum. Ah, I'll kill you. I'm going to kill you. The neighbors watching the commotion held their breath, not even daring to blink. It's also because Zhu Jingran and Liu Manyang were poor in character. They hadn't lived here long but managed to offend all the neighbors. Chen Wenbin and his father were even more detested by both people and dogs. Everyone wished they would be struck by lightning when they went out. By the time Squire Chen arrived with his men, panting and out of breath, Chen Wenbin and Zhu Jingran were both lying motionless in a pool of blood. Squire Chen was both shocked and furious, his face dark as he directed the servants, beat him to death. A group of people immediately surrounded him, kicking and punching Zhu Jingran, who was lying on the ground unable to get up. Zhu's mother watched, her heart and soul shattered, and she grabbed a nearby hoe, lunging fiercely at Squire Chen. "Don't bully my son." The scene was in chaos, with screams echoing everywhere. By the time the constables arrived with their men, even Master Chen's robe was stained with blood. After watching enough of the commotion, I quietly slipped away from the other side of the alley while no one was paying attention. When the officials found me, I was lying in bed looking quite ill. "Officer, cough, cough, cough. Is there something you need?" The leading officer looked sympathetic. "Are you Zhu Jingran's wife?" I nodded in confusion. "My husband is copying books at the bookstore." "Are you looking for him, sir? Did he break the shopkeeper's book?" "I'll pay for the money. Once I feel a bit better, I'll go gather herbs." Officials rarely visited the village, so the villagers gathered nearby. Seeing me pale and on the verge of collapse, they all spoke up to plead on my behalf. "That's right, Mrs. Zhu is a hard-working person. Even when she's sick, she goes up the mountain to gather herbs every day, rain or shine, not a day missed. All the money earned goes to Zhu Jingran's education. Zhu Jingran is so refined and cultured, surely he didn't intentionally copy the damaged book." The official felt even more distressed, sighed, and was filled with great pity. "Zhu Jingran is dead." Zhu Jingran and Chen Wenbin perished together, both dying from excessive blood loss. Zhu's mother slashed Master Chen, and was severely beaten by his servants. Although she survived, she was left paralyzed in bed, unable to walk again. She had already suffered a severe stroke before, and this fright left her unable to speak. Of all the people in the courtyard, only Liu Manyang fared somewhat better, but she fell while trying to break up the fight and lost the baby. But none of them are as pitiful as I am. In just one day, I learned that my husband had long since emptied our family's wealth to support a mistress. Not only did he keep a mistress, but he also had a child with her. My mother-in-law even lied and went to serve the mistress's pregnancy. Moreover, I inexplicably became a widow and had to take care of an elderly woman who was bedridden. How tragic! It's truly too tragic. Even the county magistrate felt sorry for me and made Mr. Chen compensate me with 100 taels of silver. Mr. Chen was extremely unwilling. He had lost his only son and harbored a deep-seated hatred for the Zhu family. So how could he be willing to pay this compensation? However, after all, his family had only lost one person, whereas the Zhu family had suffered one death and one severe injury. Moreover, it was Chen Wenbin who stole someone else's wife first. Liu Manyang's father was ashamed of her and didn't even let her return home. It is said that her mother couldn't bear it and secretly arranged a marriage for her from afar, marrying her off quietly. Due to complications from this childbirth, her health was ruined, and she could no longer have children of her own. So naturally, she couldn't marry into a good family. The man she married this time was a widower with a limp. Already 40 years old, and even had grandchildren. But all of this has nothing to do with me anymore. That day, I was at home brewing medicine when my neighbor, Aunt Wang, pushed the door open excitedly and rushed in. "Aang, great news, that Master Chen has died suddenly. I heard he died on top of a woman. How could there be such a beast in the world? His son hasn't even been gone for 5 weeks, and he still has the energy to think about such things. Serves him right. It seems my medicine has taken effect. Then the medicine for this old hag should be taking effect." As expected, there was a commotion inside the house. The old woman heard the noise, her eyes widening in excitement, and she kept making heh-heh sounds with her mouth. Before long, a line of tears actually flowed from the corner of her eye. When she looked again, her head tilted to the side, and she stopped breathing. Aunt Wang watched with amazement. Your mother-in-law was holding on to her last breath, waiting for Master Chen to meet a bad end. Now that she's heard the news of his death, that breath has dissipated, and she couldn't hold on any longer. I flung my handkerchief over my face and burst into heart-wrenching sobs. "Mother-in-law, how cruel you are, leaving me all alone in this world. Wah. What am I to do now?" The funeral was held with great simplicity. I bought a thin wooden coffin and hired a few neighbors to help carry it. After the burial, we simply set up 2 tables of food, and that was considered the completion of the funeral. 2 fewer people in the family, 2 more lonely graves in the mountains. On the 7th day after their passing, goose feather-like snowflakes began to fall from the sky, one after another. Snowflakes danced in the wind, quickly piling up into a thick layer on the ground. I didn't go to the graves. Instead, I sat in the courtyard, looking up at this rare snowy scene. The courtyard seemed even more desolate. The earth was a vast expanse of white, truly pristine. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I was originally the legitimate daughter of the Duke of Jiang's household, 16 years of age, as beautiful as a flower. Yet the foolish emperor made a mismatched marriage, bestowing the union in court. I was betrothed to General Du, who had just returned victorious from the battlefield. It was said that General Du was nearly 40 years old and had been a butcher before joining the army. Not only was he stout and burly, but he was also exceptionally cruel and ruthless, having killed countless people. At that time, I was in the process of discussing marriage with the second son of Minister Pei's family. Father used this as a reason to refuse the marriage in court. The emperor was furious and imprisoned my father. To save my father, I had no choice but to marry into the general's household. As soon as the news of my father's imprisonment arrived, the Pei family returned my birth details overnight. My mother, shocked and furious, fell ill and could not get out of bed. The once bustling duke's mansion, which had always been filled with guests, was suddenly deserted. With everyone scattering like monkeys from a fallen tree, looking at my pale, sick mother and my young, innocent brother, I suppressed my heartache and accepted the imperial decree of marriage. On the day of the grand wedding, my father was released from prison. He held my hand, tears streaming down his aged face. Yaroa, the duke's mansion raised you from a young age to be well-educated, gentle, and virtuous. But the general's mansion is full of reckless men. They probably don't even know the meaning of propriety, righteousness, integrity, and shame, let alone how to read or write. I'm afraid you'll suffer greatly if you marry into that family. I wiped away my father's tears. Rest assured, although General Du may not be an ideal match, your daughter is going there to be the mistress of the household. In the future, I will certainly fulfill my duties and will not tarnish the noble reputation that the Duke's manor has upheld for generations. With a red veil covering my face, amidst the sounds of music and celebration, I was carried into the general's manor in a grand sedan chair. Yet, I did not get to wait for the wedding night. The Tartars invaded the border, and General Du was ordered to lead the defense against the enemy. The general's mansion was emptied overnight, leaving only me and a few maids brought from the Duke's residence. Staring at the almost completely emptied general's mansion, I was left speechless. Although the wedding ceremony had been performed, the bridal veil had not been lifted, the nuptial wine had not been shared, and the hair-binding ritual had not been completed. This marriage could not yet be considered valid. I instantly became the laughingstock of the entire capital. Have you heard? The general's mansion took even the dogs when they went to war, leaving only Jiang Yaro from the duke's mansion behind. The general's mansion must be doing this to retaliate against the duke's mansion for publicly rejecting the marriage proposal. Jiang Yaro has already been abandoned. How does she still have the face to stay in the general's mansion? Alas, she is already married. How could she possibly return to her parents' home? Wouldn't that make the duke's mansion a laughingstock? Who would dare to form a marriage alliance with the duke's mansion in the future? I can't stay in the general's mansion. And I can't return to the duke's residence either. In a fit of anger, I took my maid, Bai Lan, and headed for the border. I was determined to confront that butcher surnamed Du and demand an explanation. If my father refused the marriage, he would be imprisoned, since the wedding didn't take place. General Du should also provide an explanation. It would be best to give me a divorce certificate. Let me return to the duke's mansion openly and honorably, and from now on, have nothing to do with the Du family. Since childhood, I have been pampered, and the farthest I have ever traveled was to Lingyan Temple in the outskirts of the capital to pray for blessings. but driven by a deep-seated resentment, my delicate feet were blistered, and when the blisters burst, they turned into calluses. Yet, I never looked back. I won't rest until I get the divorce papers. By the time we struggled to the border, Bai Lan and I were in a sorry state. After resting for a few days in a town called Wenan, Bai Lan found out that a Du family army was currently stationed not far from Wenan town. After eating and drinking our fill, we headed toward the military camp. Before I could even approach the military camp, I was captured as a spy. Fortunately, I was prepared and handed a small object to a soldier. Give this to your General Du, and he will naturally know who I am. But I ended up waiting for 2 whole days. 2 days later, when it was time to break camp, the soldier finally remembered that 2 people were still locked up. When the young general in silver armor arrived, both Bai Lan and I were barely clinging to life. He watched as Bai Lan and I devoured the steamed buns, his gaze carrying a hint of deeper meaning. Is this yours? He raised his hand, and in his palm lay a small tiger head jade seal. It was also the small item I had handed over to the soldier. This jade seal was the most inconspicuous item among the betrothal gifts sent by the Du family. The character Du engraved on the seal was written with a flowing, unrestrained style, as if dragons and snakes were dancing. I like it very much. I brought it with me when I left, so I could prove my identity later. I swallowed a mouthful of steamed bun, stood up, and bowed to him. I am the newly married mistress of your general's mansion. The young general in silver armor raised an eyebrow and withdrew the hand holding the jade seal. I looked up at him and thought, wow, there's actually someone this good-looking in the military camp. His features were clear and handsome, his posture tall and straight. In this bitterly cold place of withered grass, yellow clouds, and broken scenery, he was like a refreshing spring that soothed the heart. Perhaps I had been staring at him for too long, as his expression grew somewhat awkward. Since you are the mistress of the general's mansion, why not stay there properly instead of coming to this harsh and bitter land? It's all because of what your General Du has done. The wedding veil has not been lifted, the nuptial wine has not been drunk, and the hair-binding ceremony has not been performed. The wedding is not yet complete, and my status is neither proper nor legitimate. Naturally, I cannot stay in the general's mansion. I have come here precisely to demand an explanation from General Du. Upon hearing my words, the young general in silver armor raised his eyebrows once more. A playful smile curled at the corner of his mouth. So, you've come to marry your husband. My face flushed bright red in an instant, and I almost couldn't bear to look at his charming, smiling demeanor. I have nothing to say to you. Just take me to see your General Du. He nodded, then looked me over again. We break camp at midnight. If you can keep up, I'll take you to see him. The thought of soon obtaining the divorce papers made me agree immediately. Bai Lan supported me as we stumbled along, following at the rear of the marching troops. After only half a day of walking, my bones feel like they're about to fall apart. The sun is glaring. My mouth is parched, and I feel like I'm about to die. A large chestnut horse stops in front of me, and a young general in silver armor reaches out his hand to me from the saddle. I lick my dry, cracked lips, feeling a hint of disdain. Men and women should not touch each other. He chuckled softly, dismounted, and then lifted me by the waist, leaping onto the horse's back. This is the border, not the rule-bound capital. There's no need to be so rigid. I felt a bit annoyed inside. The Du family's troops never regarded me as the mistress of the general's mansion. Otherwise, how would they dare to act in such a frivolous and reckless manner? The scholar can be killed but not humiliated. I lowered my head and looked at the tall horse, then thought, forget it, staying alive is more important than anything else. Getting the divorce agreement is the real matter. I try my best to straighten my back, but the chestnut horse sways as it walks. I always inevitably bump into his arms. I think he must have seen my ears flushed red. That's why he couldn't help but chuckle softly. This journey lasted a full day. It wasn't until it was so dark that the road could no longer be seen clearly that the army finally stopped to rest. Dismounting from the horse, I could no longer care about my demeanor. Leaning against Bai Lan like a pile of mud, Bai Lan held me with heartache as we sat down. Why must you suffer like this, miss? We've come this far, just hold on a little longer. Perhaps we'll see General Du soon. The young general in silver armor beside me handed me a water pouch. I didn't have time to thank him. Taking the water pouch and drinking from it in big gulps, the clear water was sweet, instantly soothing the burning pain in my throat. "Why must you see General Do?" He smiled at me, his gaze seeming somewhat gentle. Before I could take a closer look, it had already returned to clarity. I handed the water pouch back to him. Before I could even mention that the purpose of my visit was to discuss the divorce agreement, a wave of commotion erupted. "Ambush ahead, form ranks and prepare for battle." The water pouch fell to the ground, and clear water gushed out. The young general in silver armor shot out like an arrow from a bowstring. Soon, soldiers struck by arrows and bodies severed by swords and blades lay before us. Bylan and I clung to each other, dodging while screaming in utter terror. Perhaps our screams were too loud. A polished curved blade came flying toward us. I pushed Bylan away with all my strength, but I could no longer dodge in time. At the moment my soul seemed to leave my body, a large hand pulled me over and gathered me into its embrace. The sound of close combat rang out, and I buried my face in his chest. The silver armor was cold, but my heart burned with warmth. "Stay hidden, and keep your life to see your general do." After settling me safely, he threw himself back into the fight. My eyes were sore and stinging, but I dared not let the tears fall. I was afraid that the tears would blur my vision, making it impossible to see his figure. An arrow, hidden in the shadows, came with a clear target and a sudden attack. Before my mind could even process it, I had already stepped in front of him. A sharp pain struck, followed by his urgent calls, "Jiang Yao, Jiang Yao." I fell into his embrace. Before me were his concerned face and the reddened corners of his eyes. My last conscious thought was, I never mentioned my name, so how did he know I'm Jiang Yao? A wave of dizziness washed over me, and I lost consciousness. When I woke again, I was lying in a dilapidated temple. The arrow was still lodged in my chest. "This arrow is likely poisoned." The speaker was the military doctor. "If not treated soon, there may be a risk to his life. Everyone, get out." His voice was clear and cold, carrying an undeniable force. Everyone withdrew, leaving only the two of us in the dilapidated temple. "I'll help you pull the arrow out. It might hurt a bit." I looked at him and nodded. His eyes held that indescribable gentleness once again. For a moment, I was lost in the starry expanse of his gaze, but what happened next completely shattered me. My clothes were torn open at the chest, revealing rounded shoulders and full curves. I raised my hand to cover my chest, shaking my head in fear, but my hand was pulled down again by his large hand. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" He had a cold expression, his tone unprecedentedly stern. Losing one's reputation is like losing one's life. I endured the intense pain and tears, arguing my case. "Your General Do will surely not blame you." Before I could say anything more, he had already grasped the arrow shaft. When the arrow was pulled out, the pain nearly made me pass out, but his words jolted me back to consciousness. "The arrow is poisoned. I'll help you suck it out." "No." I struggled to get up, but he pressed me down again. He buried his head in my chest, using his mouth to suck the poison out of the wound. I trembled, as if scalded by his lips. I was at a loss, only my tears flowed uncontrollably. After tending to the wound, he wiped away my tears with his fingertips. I tightly closed my eyes, thinking about how to explain things to the general's mansion, and whether it would affect the reputation of my parents and younger brother. He seemed to understand my concerns. His eyes filled with comfort and certainty. "In urgent situations, we must act as circumstances require. Your General Do will surely understand." "Darling, my General Do used to be a butcher. If he finds out about what happened today, you might all be in trouble. But now is not the time to talk about this. Bylan got separated from me in the chaos. She has endured a lot of hardship following me on this journey. Please help me find her." He agreed, tucked me in, and then left. Later, Bylan was found and returned, crying on my shoulder for a long time. "Miss, there's going to be a war outside. Should we still go look for General Do? I feel a bit guilty. A strange man saw my body, and even, I'm afraid I won't be able to get the divorce letter." Women who lose their reputation often end up in a miserable state. Perhaps I'll spend the rest of my life in solitude. living a simple life with a lamp and ancient scriptures, if this is the inevitable outcome. I don't want to disrupt morale at such a critical moment, just before the great battle. No matter how difficult my remaining years may be, they will never compare to the suffering of the people in the war-torn borderlands or the soldiers fighting on the front lines. Perhaps there is still some lingering poison in my body that hasn't been fully cleared. I am always drowsy, sleeping and sleeping again. By the time I truly woke up, it was already 3 days later. The war was on the verge of breaking out, and the military camp was no longer a place to stay. Bailan and I were sent back to Wenan town. On the day of my departure, he came to see me off, his gaze intense. "Why did you save me that day?" I dared not look up, afraid that I would be bewitched by such elegance and grace. Along the way, there were starving people everywhere, and corpses littered the fields. The general's duty is heavy, focused on defending the land for the people, bringing peace to the nation and stabilizing the country. Though I, Jiang Yao, am not talented, I am willing to lend a hand for the greater good of the family and the nation. I still kept my head down, and he seemed to have been watching me for a long time. I thought my face must have been as red as a monkey's bottom. "Aren't you going to ask me what my name is?" His voice was soft, carrying a hint of ambiguity. That slight hint of ambiguity stirred a sense of shame deep within me. Even though the wedding was not completed, without a divorce letter, I am still a member of the Du family. It is most improper to be involved with an unrelated man in such a desolate and remote place. My expression turned cold. "We are but strangers who meet by chance, all far from home. There's no need to know too much." He was taken aback by my suddenly cold tone, paused for a moment, and then said, "Startled clouds bestow sand and dust, drifting through the lost river state. My name is." I was already extremely upset, and before he could finish speaking, I raised my eyes and glared at him angrily. "General, instead of wasting time here, you'd be better off slaying a few more barbarians to end this war sooner, so the people can enjoy a few peaceful days." Suddenly, he too became happy, smiling like a gentle breeze under a bright moon. "You're right, wait here for me. Once the war is over, I'll take you back to the capital." He strode away on his horse. I was dumbfounded. How could he be so bold and frivolous, so dismissive of the ruthless Butcherdu? After a few days of recuperating from my injuries, I hurriedly left with Bailan. Unlike the aggressive stance I had when I came to demand an explanation, I felt more like I was fleeing in defeat on my way back to the capital. In the 3 months I was away, Mother nearly cried her eyes out. "You should settle in at home and not worry about the gossip outside." I nodded and embraced Mother. The marriage with the general's household still needs careful consideration, and so, I settled into life at the Duke's residence. Each day was spent playing the qin and reading books, making my days no different from before marriage. Startling clouds bestow sand and desert, drifting and lost in Huzhou. Could his name possibly be Huzhou? I somewhat regret not letting him finish his words that day. Another 3 months passed in the blink of an eye, and the border saw a great victory. The Tartars were defeated and retreated west of the Hun River, promising to pay tribute annually and no longer invade the border. The Du family army was ordered to return to the capital. On the day the great army entered the imperial city, the emperor issued an order, commanding my father, Duke Jiang, to lead the civil and military officials out of the city to welcome them. That night, after my father returned from court, he looked at me, hesitating to speak. In the end, he only sighed. Seeing my father in such a difficult position, I felt extremely uneasy. If disaster truly strikes, I must not implicate my father. Sure enough, early the next morning, the maid came to report that General Du had come in person to take me back to the general's residence. Bailan looked at me with tearful eyes. "Her heart aching, miss." I took a glance from outside. That General Du is tall and burly, with a broad back and a powerful build. His voice booms like a gong, and most importantly, he has a full beard. The handkerchief slipped from my hand, and I steadied myself by holding onto the chair. What was bound to come had finally arrived. In the front hall, a man dressed in military official attire, with a stern and solemn appearance, sat beside my father. Perhaps the harsh winds and sands of the border had taken their toll, for he looked even older than my father. His eyes, like a pair of bronze bells, have been fixed on me since I entered the room. My heart pounded like a drum. But I tried my best to remain calm as I bowed to my father. Ha ha ha, is this the legitimate daughter of the Duke's household? Truly, she has a fine appearance and noble bearing. His voice indeed had the power to shake the roof tiles, and my face paled a few shades. Jiang Yao has met General Du. I bowed to him, he waved his hand grandly. We're all family, no need for such formalities. I brought back some local specialties from the border. My good-for-nothing son is outside helping unload the goods, so you'll meet him in a moment. I felt like crying but had no tears, teetering on the brink of collapse. I am only 16, as beautiful as a flower. My mother has diligently taught me music, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, wine, flowers, and tea for many years. Now, I can only be tasked with raising a son who has no blood relation to me for an old man. How can I possibly be content with this? I clenched my collar tightly, took a deep breath, and knelt down before the man above. Though unworthy, I have received your Majesty's imperial decree, granting me the title and attire, and recording my name in the annals. Yet, Jiang Yao has already violated the virtues of a wife, though it was not my intention. I am no longer fit to be the mistress of the general's manor. Today, I humbly request to step down from my position. I beg the general to grant me this wish. The man abruptly stood up, his bear-like hand slamming down on the table. Both the teacup and my father trembled. In-laws. What is my daughter-in-law saying? I'm not very educated. I don't understand. Wait, daughter-in-law. My mind was momentarily confused. Father-in-law. The things we moved have been put away. A familiar voice, one that I had longed for day and night, suddenly rang out, and I turned around abruptly. Is it him, the young general in silver armor? Father-in-law, daughter-in-law. My head feels a bit dizzy, and someone helps me up. Looking up, I see that irresistibly handsome face. Didn't I tell you to wait for me in Wenan town? Why did you come back on your own? He smiled at me, his eyes sparkling like a galaxy of stars. I was in a daze, unsure if I was experiencing a nervous breakdown from the shock. With a loud slap, his large hand struck the table once more. Father and the teacup trembled once more. Ha ha ha, look at these two kids. Wonderful, in-laws. I think we're like a turtle finding a turtle-in-law, perfectly matched, truly perfectly matched. Father's face turned from pale to blue, then from blue to green. Daughter, since General Du has come personally to fetch you, you should go back with him. If there's anything to discuss, you can talk it over properly back at the general's residence. Is father perhaps afraid that if he stays any longer, the teacup won't be safe? But there are still many things I haven't figured out. Didn't the emperor issue an edict betrothing me to General Du? How did I become a daughter-in-law? The most bizarre thing is, the young general in silver armor is actually General Du's son. So, I was actually being taken advantage of by my own husband. And I was terrified about it for 3 whole months, but before I could figure it out, I was already carried into the general's mansion in a sedan chair again. The general's mansion was no longer deserted. The gatekeepers, guards, maids, and servants were all in place. Even the legendary dog had returned to its post. I was still settled in the same room where the wedding had taken place. The bright red bed curtains and wedding candles had already been removed. I sat on the bed, sorting out my thoughts. The General Du I married is actually the young General Du. He already knew who I was, which is why he casually called out my name. I felt somewhat annoyed, blaming him for not being honest about his identity. It made me feel sad and lost for a long time, and I even lost a lot of hair. The door was pushed open, and the person who entered was tall and elegant, with handsome eyebrows and bright eyes, completely different from the silver-armored young general from before. He carried an air of nobility and an unhurried composure. I felt a bit dazed, wondering how General Du, with his rough and rustic demeanor, could have such a handsome son. He sat beside me and asked softly, "Have your injuries completely healed?" My face flushed red again, and I lowered my head without speaking. A cold hand pinched my chin, forcing me to look up and meet his gaze. "Why do you blush so easily?" I was somewhat flustered and angry, asking, "Since you knew who I was, why didn't you make it clear to me back then?" A hint of sorrow spread in his eyes. He let out a mocking laugh and lowered his hand. You must have been extremely dissatisfied with this marriage arrangement, to the point where you didn't even glance at the marriage certificate. Left alone in the room, I rummaged through the cabinets and drawers until I finally found that marriage certificate. The auspicious ceremony is newly completed, a blessed union is thus formed. With affection as deep as the lovebird and the mandarin duck, may you respect each other like honored guests. Auspicious signs of abundant offspring foretell prosperity for future generations. United in heart and virtue, you shall bring harmony to the household and family. May you be forever bound in marital bliss. Pledging your love like the phoenix and the butterfly, this is our witness. Following the sharply defined regular script were the two names, Du Jingyun, Jiang Yao. The clouds startle, bestowing sand to the desert, drifting and bewildering the river's state. It turns out he had said it, but from beginning to end, I never knew the name of the person I was to marry. That's why his eyes were so dim when he left. I hold the marriage certificate close to my heart. Heaven has indeed been kind to me, marrying the person I love. Sweetness spreads in my heart, and I decide to be a good Mrs. Du. However, since the day he left my room, he has never returned. I sent by land to inquire. He said military affairs are busy, leaving early and returning late, and he's afraid of disturbing your rest, so he's staying in the study. I am deeply troubled. Has my husband's heart already drifted away before our life together has even begun? Back at the border, he clearly had feelings for me too. Could it be that he blames me for losing my innocence in front of a strange man? After hesitating for a few days, I decided to find a way to break the ice in this relationship. He came back late at night and saw me sitting upright in the study. Do you need something from me? Look at this cold attitude, this aloof demeanor that keeps people at a distance. Why is it so particularly captivating? I stepped forward with a beaming smile. Before I got married, my mother taught me that after marriage, I should be filial to my in-laws, serve my husband, and bear children. But now, both my father-in-law and you leave early and return late, and I haven't been able to do any of these things, so I can't help but feel guilty in my heart. I drew out the words having children with a prolonged tone. He raised an eyebrow at me, casually took the hot tea I offered, and took a careless sip. My father was a butcher before joining the army, after 20 years of roughing it in the military camp. He's not used to being served by others. You don't need to take it to heart. He also emphasized the word butcher with great weight. I raised my hand, took the teacup he had finished drinking from, and remained unyielding. And what about you, husband? Since we are already married, I should fulfill my duties as a wife. I spoke softly and gently, almost as if I were pasting the words "it's time to share a room" right on his face. He didn't even lift his eyelids. It's late at night, and I still have official documents to handle. You should go back to your room and rest. I'll adapt to the situation. Then I'll go fetch a bowl of hot soup for you, my husband. When I returned to the study with the hot soup, the door was already locked. Standing under the starry sky, I felt a sense of loss. 3 days later, I gathered my strength and started anew. Since he had taken my body, he naturally had to take responsibility for me. Besides, he was so handsome it would be a shame not to have a child with him. I moved my bedding into the study. Amidst the swirling incense and flickering candlelight, I gazed at him affectionately. Wearing a sheer undergarment as thin as a cicada's wing, he took off his outer robe and casually draped it over me. Then, he stepped past me and sat down at the desk. Just as my delicate, boneless hands were about to rest on his shoulders, a stack of papers was thrust into my palm. These were left at your residence in Wenan Town. I brought them back for you. In his cold, clear voice, my lips trembled as I turned the pages of the document one by one. During my recovery in Wenan Town, I had once drafted a letter of separation for myself. I bitterly recounted how I didn't fit in with the general's mansion, almost writing the words vulgar and unbearable right on the page. At the time, those words were just a momentary vent of anger and not meant to be taken seriously. Now it seems, every word strikes at the heart. No wonder he was being sarcastic a few days ago. If that's the case, why bother bringing me back from the Duke's mansion? The General's mansion is not without literate people. There's no need for you to write your own divorce letter. My eyes grew warm, and I bit my lip hard. Tearing off his outer robe and hurling it at him, wearing only my undergarments, I stormed out the door. The autumn chill was heavy with dew, and the wind seemed mournful and lonely. In this autumn breeze, I fell gravely ill and could not rise from my bed. I don't know where my anger came from, but I refused to take medicine, almost wishing to die from the illness. Bylan tearfully went to beg him to come. He sat by the bedside, looking at me with a sigh. I've already burned all those things. Since you didn't give them to me personally, I'll just pretend I never saw them. Get up and drink your medicine. He held the medicine bowl, coaxing me softly. The accumulated grievances of many days surged forth all at once, causing tears to flow like a runaway wild horse, impossible to stop no matter what. His cold fingers brushed past the corner of my eye, wiping away the tears. It's my fault. Before I saw you, I longed for you like a madman. But upon seeing you, I was filled with these baseless regrets. I cried even harder. His lips kissed the corners of my eyes and brows, finally lingering at the corner of my mouth. Lingering without end, I lifted my face to meet this hard-won kiss. With my clothes half undone, he caressed the scar on my chest. The wound had long since healed, leaving only a faint pink mark. He buried his head in my chest, just as he had sucked the venom that day. I bit my lip hard, not daring to let those broken sounds escape. Drink the medicine and rest well. I'll come see you again tomorrow. What? My clothes were half undone, and I was panting softly. He said, get some rest early. And then left. Bylan came in, her face full of frustration and disappointment. How could the young master leave again? What was the use of you reading those picture books for half a month? Shut up. If you dare leak that I was reading those little books, I'll slap your mouth. I picked up the medicine bowl, drank it all in one gulp, and pulled the covers over my head to sleep. Today wasn't a complete waste. I touched my lips and swore to myself that once I recovered from this illness, I would definitely win him over in one fell swoop. Before I had fully recovered, the general's residence received an invitation to the flower viewing banquet being prepared by the princess's estate. I had attended the princess's flower viewing banquet a few times in previous years. It was nothing more than inviting the young masters and ladies from noble families to recite poetry, paint, admire flowers, and enjoy a feast, simply a way to amuse the princess, who rarely ventured beyond her own gates. Receiving an invitation from the princess's residence is an honor in itself, and one cannot refuse to attend. On the day of the banquet, I wore a simple, elegant dress and sat in an inconspicuous corner. Now that my father-in-law is in the emperor's favor, the general's residence is in the spotlight. I only hope to get through this banquet without any mishaps, but there are always those who refuse to let me have my way. Oh, isn't this Madame Du? Why are you dressed so shabbily today? Could it be that the general's mansion is just an empty shell, unable to afford even decent hairpins and jewelry? The speaker was Princess Henning of the Ruewang mansion. It is said that she is now engaged to the second son of the Pei family, and the wedding will take place after the new year. Perhaps still harboring resentment over Jiang Yao's previous engagement with the second young master of the Pei family, her words were dripping with sarcasm. Several of her close friends also began to target me. Which noble family in the capital doesn't have a legacy spanning generations? Only this General Du's residence has nothing but this empty mansion bestowed by His Majesty. I heard that General Du used to be a butcher. How could anyone expect a butcher to earn any silver? Madame Du, you were once the model among the young ladies of the capital, excelling in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Even the princess praised your exceptional skill in playing the qin. What a pity you married into the general's residence. I wonder if the young General Du, who grew up in the military camp, can understand the music from your zither. Won't your skills be wasted there? I also wonder if it's too late for you to start learning martial arts now. The eldest daughter of the Xue family, Xue Ruyue, finished speaking, causing a burst of laughter. I concealed the cold glint in my eyes and gently adjusted the plain hairpin at my temple. Looking up, she glanced at them and spoke casually. No need for the princess to worry, not to mention the general's mansion. The dowry prepared for me by the duke's mansion alone is enough to last a lifetime. Then, I turned to look at Xue Ruyue. We, the children of officials and noble families, are sheltered in all matters by our families. What I have learned and achieved is merely due to the privileges inherited from my ancestors, and is not worth boasting about. In contrast, my father-in-law, who came from a humble background, started as a lowly soldier and, through fighting enemies on the battlefield and defending the nation's borders, was personally honored by His Majesty as a first-rank general, a pillar of the state. Young General Du grew up in the military camp. Skilled in deploying troops and strategizing, in your eyes, he is actually inferior to those who indulge in idle poetry and lament the passing of seasons. My husband's illustrious military achievements are something your brother, who is nothing but a fat, pleasure-seeking wastrel, could never hope to attain in his entire life. Xuerue was both angry and ashamed, yet for a moment, she could not find the words to respond, her face flushed crimson with anger, on the verge of tears. Moreover, the Duke's household taught me music, chess, calligraphy, and painting to cultivate my character, unlike your Xue family, who use such skills to curry favor with their husbands. Ruyue burst into tears. Princess Henning glared with wide, almond-shaped eyes and slammed her hand on the table. Just a few jokes. Why must you humiliate someone like this? Young Master Xue is, after all, the son of a court official. How can you slander him so recklessly, having just recovered from a serious illness? I'm already a bit tired from saying all this. After taking a sip of tea, I stood up and walked a few steps toward the center of the banquet. No choice, my voice is too soft, and I'm afraid some people might not hear me, since even the son of a mere second-rank official cannot be criticized. My father-in-law, who protected 100,000 border residents from the ravages of war and was personally ordered by His Majesty to have all officials welcome him outside the city upon his triumphant return, yet today, Lady Xue publicly made a joke of him. Does this not show a disregard for His Majesty's decree? Today, representing the general's mansion, I had no intention of causing trouble, but they brought this upon themselves. When it comes to the honor of the general's mansion, I will not yield an inch. Well said. Applause sounded, and I turned to see the princess and her consort standing not far away. Behind them were the young marquis of the princess's estate, Li Mubai, and my husband, Du Jingyun, who had been staying in the study. The one clapping and cheering was the consort. He was nearly 50, yet still strikingly handsome, a testament to how breathtaking he must have been in his youth. General Du, you've found quite the lady of the house for your general's residence. She has a heroic spirit, just like someone from the Du family. Du Jingyun stood by, his smile dazzling. The consort speaks truly. The general's residence has indeed married a treasure. Though his words were directed at the consort, his eyes never left me from start to finish. I felt a bit flushed under his gaze, so I lowered my head and bowed to the princess and the consort. All right, everyone, please take your seats. Let's not disturb the princess's well-being. The consort escorted the princess to the main seat, and Du Jingyun and the young marquis followed them. I quietly returned to my corner and sat down, but then I heard several women nearby whispering among themselves. So that's Du Jingyun, with his looks and demeanor, standing next to the young marquis, the capital's most handsome man. He doesn't fall short at all. In fact, he has an extra touch of heroic charm. With his appearance, I'd marry him too. What does it matter if he can't understand music? Jiang Yao really got lucky. I silently raised an eyebrow. What a dazzling array of flowers that gradually captivates the eyes. Unfortunately, you won't have the chance. I'll devour him completely tonight, leaving not even a scrap of bone for you. I glanced at him while drinking tea. He was talking with the young marquis. A pair of exceptionally captivating eyes, with just a hint of a smile, were already enough to intoxicate. Those young ladies kept exclaiming in surprise. I pouted. If these young ladies knew I was now left alone in an empty room, they would surely laugh their heads off. As I was lost in wild thoughts, I suddenly felt a gaze from behind. Turning around, I met the intense gaze of the second young master of the Pei family, Pei Mingyuan. I quickly turned around, and Princess Ning was glaring at me with resentment. This is truly an unwarranted disaster. Back then, it was my horoscope that was returned. So why does this second young master Pei look at me with such deep resentment? His gaze felt like it was burning my back. And it wasn't until Bai Lan stepped in to shield me that I felt much more at ease. At the banquet, the young Marquis suggested changing the rules this year. Mother, let's not stick to the usual poetry and literary games at today's banquet. The Emperor values martial prowess and requires all the princes to practice horse riding and archery. Why don't we follow suit and have everyone compete in archery? Since the young Marquis spoke up, the princess naturally had no objections. Very well. I have prepared a set of jeweled headwear as the top prize to add some excitement for all the scholars. With that, a maid stepped forward carrying a box, inside of which was a set of gemstone headwear. Under the sunlight, it shimmered with a dazzling brilliance, clearly a fine piece. Someone recognized it as a gift from the emperor to the princess on her wedding day, a priceless treasure. Everyone eagerly stepped forward, eager to try it on. Du Jingyun bowed to the princess and said, "Your Highness, as I am newly married, I would also like to add a piece of jewelry for my bride, to bring good fortune." The young Marquis, however, would not relent. "You are a military officer, currently serving as a drill instructor in the army. If you were to take the field, what chance would anyone else have?" Du Jingyun smiled and said, "The young Marquis speaks truly. If I were to cover my eyes and use my left hand to shoot the arrow, I wonder if those present would consider that fair." The crowd below erupted in murmurs. Shooting an arrow with the non-dominant hand while unable to see, could that possibly be accurate? In that case, go ahead and give it a try. The young Marquis personally blindfolded him with a hair ribbon, drawing the bow and shooting the arrows. 3 arrows were released simultaneously, hitting the bullseye with seamless fluidity, all in one smooth motion. The entire room fell silent. He pulled off the hair ribbon, not even glancing at the target, and simply smiled at me. At that moment, I clearly heard the sound of my heart pounding like a drum. I clutched the handkerchief in my hand tightly, gazing at him from afar across the crowd. He got the set of headwear as he wished. And the young Marquis was saying something with an arm around his shoulder. Feeling somewhat exhausted, I excused myself and prepared to return home. Unfortunately, I ran into Pei Mingyuan waiting halfway. He called me a Yao, his voice still as gentle as I remembered. Back then, my father admired his noble background and gentlemanly demeanor. Inviting him to our home to get to know him better, I used the excuse of seeking his advice on academic matters. Dressed in a green robe, he stood under the emerald willow, smiling as he explained to me. "It appears like a string of pearls, connected yet distinct. Once, I wrote in the delicate style of hairpin script, but after that day, I suddenly developed a fondness for cursive script. I am still the wife of Du Shao." His face instantly turned somewhat pale, and he forced a smile. "The matter of breaking off the engagement was not my own intention. It is difficult to defy my father's orders, but today, seeing you in such a difficult situation, I truly feel uneasy in my heart." Second young Master Pei, "There's no need for that. I'm not as bad off as you think I am now." He was taken aback, his eyes swirling with regret and disappointment. "You used to call me Brother Mingyu, but now it's just Second young Master Pei. A Yao, are you holding a grudge against me? Do you know, back then, I argued with my father too. The Emperor's decree of marriage is beyond our control. I don't blame you, it's just that we are both married now, and that's a fact, Brother Mingyuan. You should also let go of the past and look forward." His face was filled with agony, completely deaf to my earnest and well-intentioned advice. "A Yao, what if I can't let go? Are you really willing to accept this?" "Madam, it's time for us to leave." Du Jingyun's voice was cold and clear, a faint trace of anger on his face. He walked over, took my hand, and led me forward, but accidentally bumped into Pei Mingyuan's shoulder as we passed by. A frail scholar like him could hardly withstand a bump from someone who had spent years in the military. He staggered back several steps. "Second young Master Pei, you'd better be careful." Du Jingyun's voice was icy cold, sending a shiver down my spine as well. In the carriage, his face was as cold as frost, his gaze fixed on me with chilling intensity. "A Yao, Brother Mingyuan, you certainly call each other affectionately." I sat upright, meeting his gaze with neither humility nor arrogance. "If you heard everything, you should know we were just catching up. There was no conflict." He seemed furious, his eyes slightly red, and the hand gripping my shoulder trembled a little. catching up, marrying into the general's manor, you truly feel wronged." My heart softened a little, his delicate brows slightly furrowed, making him look especially pitiable. "Marrying into the general's mansion might be a compromise, but I am happy to marry you." His face instantly brightened, and his touch became much gentler. I secretly rejoiced, seizing the opportunity to press a kiss onto his forehead. "Let everything from the past be left behind, okay? I am fond of you and wish to stay by your side for the rest of my life." He seemed somewhat incredulous, carefully pulling me into his embrace. He placed the jeweled headpiece from the box onto my head, then gazed at me with an infatuated look. "Actually, I can understand the tune too." I looked up from his embrace, studying him with curiosity, then suddenly understood. He was referring to Shuerue's mockery of me for marrying into the general's mansion, where my husband couldn't understand music, leaving my talents with no place to shine. He gently pressed my head back into his embrace. 2 years ago, when I returned to the capital to assist the young Marquis in escorting provisions, that day, also at the princess's flower-viewing banquet, you saw off the young Marquis by playing the Guzheng piece Lanling Wang Enters the Battle Array. I remember now, because the song of Lanling King entering the battle was originally a pipa piece, but that day, I only had a guqin at hand, so I simply played it on the guqin. You look so delicate. Yet I heard the grandeur of thousands of troops and horses in the melody. Jiang Yao, the general's mansion is not as terrible as they say. What I like, I can also enjoy, such as playing the qin, composing poetry, or practicing cursive calligraphy. He placed a small tiger head seal in my hand, the very one used for my identification. It turns out he had personally carved it and placed it among the betrothal gifts. My eyes grew a bit moist. "Did you plan to marry me for a long time?" "For a long time?" "I don't believe it." I stand up and push him away, my face full of grievance. "If you truly wanted to marry me, why did you leave me alone on our wedding night?" He looks at me deeply, saying nothing, and simply lowers his head to kiss my lips. The kiss is exceptionally passionate, even a bit urgent. My lips were swollen when we parted, and my legs were so weak that I could barely stand, swaying unsteadily. He chuckled softly and scooped me up by the waist, carrying me back to the room. Just as I began to feel a bit shy about sharing a room in broad daylight, he added, "Get some rest early." That night, he still slept in the study. After being sent out by me to check 3 times, Bailan finally grew impatient. "Miss, the lights in the study are all out. The young master has already gone to bed. Let's sleep too." For the first time in my life, I felt such a strong urge to curse. Early the next morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. The person in the mirror has skin as smooth as congealed fat and a face as radiant as peach blossoms. No matter how you look at it, she is a beauty, isn't she? Could it be that he's incapable? But yesterday in the carriage, I clearly felt the change in his body. Just as I was racking my brains without finding an answer, Bailan came to report that the master of the house had not left the residence since this morning. Breakfast was served in the main house, and I was invited to join the meal. I was somewhat surprised. Since returning to the capital from the border, my father-in-law had left the house at 3:45 a.m. every day, after court. He would either go to the military camp or the Ministry of War, without a single exception. I dared not delay and went to the main house after tidying myself up. Du Jingyun was also there. I bowed and then sat down beside him. My father-in-law's large, bell-like eyes swept over me from head to toe. "You're dressed quite plainly indeed. I heard that yesterday at the princess's residence, you argued with the princess's daughter and Lady Shui. Did you single-handedly berate all the noble offspring of the capital?" Startled, I quickly stood up and bowed. "Father-in-law, please understand, I was merely reasoning with them. I never." With a loud bang, he slammed the table so hard it shook the heavens. "Well said. Those who look down on others deserve to be scolded. Yesterday afternoon, even Shui Shushing avoided me when he saw me. It was truly satisfying." I was somewhat frightened by that slap and stood there, not knowing what to do. Du Jingyun stood up and put his arm around my shoulder, urging me to sit down. "Father always speaks this way. There's no need to mind it, nor do you need to stand up." Before I could say anything, there was another clatter this time. A string of brass keys was thrown in front of me. I immediately thought of standing up again, but Du Jingyun grabbed my hand. The palm was somewhat warm, instantly soothing my panicked heart. This is the key to the storeroom, which contains all the rewards from the emperor over the years. Daughter-in-law, feel free to take whatever you need. In the future, if you want anything, just ask. If the general's mansion doesn't have it, have your man go and seize it. Ha ha ha. You two eat. I'm off to the military camp. Du Jingyun. And I stood up and saw him out the door. Du Jingyun pressed the brass key into my hand. Now, the general's mansion is truly under your management. I held the cold key in my hand, feeling a wave of warmth envelop my heart. Although my father-in-law is always easily startled, he is straightforward and lacks the rigid etiquette of civil officials. It's been many days since we returned. Your mother must miss you. Why don't we visit the Duke's mansion today to see them? I also missed my father and mother, so I simply took Bai Lan and returned to the Duke's residence with him. After the meal, my father spoke with him in the study. While my mother and I returned to the study, my mother pulled me aside, asking all sorts of questions with a face full of worry. I wrapped my arms around hers to comfort her. My father-in-law is often busy with military affairs and rarely stays at the residence. Having been widowed for many years, there isn't even a concubine in the household. As soon as I entered the residence, I became the mistress. I took out the brass key to show my mother. My husband treats me very well. Mother, why didn't you and father make it clear to me back then that the person I was marrying was General Du? Mother was also at a loss whether to laugh or cry. As soon as the imperial marriage decree was issued, your father was imprisoned for offending the emperor. Moreover, the Du family had just returned to the capital, and I truly didn't know there were two General Dus in their household. That's how this big misunderstanding happened. Then why was father unwilling? The emperor values the Du family highly. If war breaks out, the Du father and son will inevitably go to the battlefield. On the battlefield, swords and arrows are blind, and if you marry into the Du family, you will spend the rest of your life in constant fear. Compared to the upright and honest minister's residence, the general's residence is not a good marriage alliance. On the way back to the general's residence, Du Jingyun seemed preoccupied, absent-minded. His eyes constantly drifting to the outside. As I got off the carriage, I was utterly shocked. The general's mansion was adorned with red silk and festive draperies, clearly set up for a joyous occasion. A maid stepped forward to lead me into the room, and in a daze, I was changed into a wedding gown and had a red veil placed over my head. The room was aglow with red candles, just like on the day of our wedding. Du Jingyun, dressed in crimson, lifted the red veil with a wedding rod. A maid stepped forward with the nuptial wine. We embraced, arms entwined, gazing into each other's eyes, and drank the wine in our cups in one go. By the time the hair-tying ceremony was completed, my vision had already grown blurry. No wonder they wanted me to return to the Duke's mansion. No wonder I was so distracted. On our wedding day, I failed you. Today, we will complete the unfinished ceremony. From now on, you are my rightful wife. Du Jingyun, Jiang Yao, give yourself completely to me. Tears slowly fell from my eyes as I nodded and held him tightly. Warmth filled the red-curtained bed, a fleeting moment of spring night, a misunderstanding finally resolved, and thus, all was made perfect. Jiang Yao's extra story. 1 year after the wedding, one night. I woke up in the middle of the night and found the space beside me empty. Under the faint candlelight, Du Jingyun was sitting at the desk, writing official documents. I felt a bit helpless, wondering how this person could have such boundless energy. Last night, he had clearly kept me up until midnight before finally stopping. I stood up, draped an outer robe over him, and leaned over his shoulder to watch him write. His handwriting was in the common regular script, each stroke neat and proper, exactly the same as on the marriage certificate. Someone like you, at first glance, doesn't seem like the type to write such neat and proper characters. I grew up in the military, and my tutor only taught me regular script. Later, when I saw you liked cursive script, I tried learning it for a while, but unfortunately, I never quite got used to it. I sat on his lap with a clever smile. How did you know I like cursive script? He lowered his head and kissed me on the lips. A long time ago, at UG Paper Shop. You stood in front of Mr. Luji's ode to bitter bamboo shoots for a long time. Later, you asked the shopkeeper to sell it to you, but he refused. So you just wouldn't leave. I was stunned and fell silent for a long time. That ode to bitter bamboo shoots was something I had sought out to give to Pei Mingyuan as a birthday gift. Seeing me silent, he kissed me again. Why have I never seen you write in cursive script? I smiled. Naturally, I don't like it. In fact, I'm more suited to the delicate and elegant style of calligraphy. Du Jingyun's side story. The first time I saw him was at the princess's flower viewing banquet, where her radiance captivated me. After the performance, I was even more astonished by her extraordinary talent. The young marquis said she was the apple of the Duke's eye, a true talent in the capital. At that time, I was ordered to return to the capital to escort provisions, while my father was fighting a bloody battle at the frontier, leaving no room for personal affairs. 2 years later, my father returned to the capital, was ennobled as a first-rank military marquis, and took up permanent residence there. I saw her once again. She half coaxed and half insisted, asking the shopkeeper to sell her that calligraphy piece. Not at all like the rigid young ladies in the capital, I inquired with the young marquis. Oh, Jiang Yao, I heard she's currently discussing marriage with Pei Mingyuan from the Pei family, the vice minister. My heart sank into an icy abyss. Was such a wonderful woman really going to marry someone else? Watching her hold that calligraphy scroll with a joyful, beaming expression, I felt a pang of bitterness. So, when the emperor asked me what reward I wanted, I spoke up as if guided by some unseen force. Thanks to your majesty's generous favor, the general's residence is fully equipped. However, neither my father nor I are skilled at managing it, and the vast estate feels rather empty. The emperor sighed and said, you and your father have truly endured hardships for the people of the border regions. You've reached the age to marry. And now that you're in the capital, with so many eligible young ladies here, have you taken a liking to any? If so, I will make the arrangements for you. I have heard that the eldest daughter of the Duke's household is both beautiful and wise. If she could be married into our family, she would surely manage the general's mansion well, allowing my son and me to have no worries. Later, the Duke was imprisoned, the Duchess fell ill, and the Pei family returned her birth chart. Jiang Yao, the eldest daughter of the Duke's household, had no choice but to accept the imperial decree of marriage. Although this move was somewhat underhanded, if it could win the beauty's hand, then so be it. In the future, I will treat her well. On the day of the grand wedding, news arrived from the border. The Tartars dispatched a cavalry force and had already captured 3 cities. Father once again led the troops into battle. He is old and has multiple fatal injuries. I cannot let him return to the border alone, so I want to ask her if she is willing to go to the frontier with me. But standing at the door, what I heard was her telling her maid to prepare a dagger for her. I am willing to marry into this family, but that does not mean I am willing to submit to him. If he dares to force me, I will die here. Like a basin of cold water poured over my head, I turned away in disarray. Since you are unwilling, then stay. I also feared seeing the look of disgust in her eyes, but I never expected that she would chase me all the way to the border. Her little face was smudged with dirt, and she was wolfing down the steamed bun without a hint of restraint, looking utterly adorable. She said she was the newly married mistress of the general's mansion. My heart burst into fireworks, thinking, since you're here, don't leave. Later, when we were attacked, at the critical moment, she pushed the maid away, taking an arrow for me. They said it was for the people. Such a good woman should be my wife. I fought the enemy as if my life didn't matter, thinking of ending this war quickly to return to her side. But when I saw the divorce papers she left behind, it felt like being pierced by 10,000 arrows. She traveled thousands of miles, only to come and seek a divorce. I am mad with longing. How could I let her have her way? Even in death, she sought to please, her delicate, boneless hands resting on my shoulders, making my fingertips tremble. But I remember what she said at the border. The wedding veil has not been lifted, the nuptial wine has not been drunk, and the hair-binding ceremony has not been performed. The wedding is not yet complete, and my status is neither proper nor legitimate. Naturally, I cannot stay in the general's mansion. I have come here precisely to demand an explanation from General Du. I will definitely give her an explanation. At the princess's residence, she argued vigorously for the general's mansion, so full of vitality and inspiring. Pei Mingyuan, the way he looks at me makes me feel extremely uncomfortable. That's why I couldn't help but give a little lesson. When she said she had feelings for me, I felt I could give my life to her right then and there. Jiang Yao, I have long admired you, and I promise to treat you well from now on. May we walk hand in hand through life, wishing to stay together forever, walking hand in hand through life. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.